Good morning again. I think most of you are from the last session. Anyone new, welcome. Again, my name is Gino Canessa. I'm with Microsoft on the Healthcare Standards and Interop team in fantastic Madison, Wisconsin. Much better than Redmond. Don't let anyone tell you differently. The link here, aka.ms/devdays-gino. That has a link to this deck as well as the deck from the last presentation. There's some links in here and different things like that. Feel free to peruse and go through there. This will be a little different from the last one since this is a let's build, and I'm always of the opinion that then you should build. So we'll do just a few slides. I'll give you guys a quick tour of some of the tooling, but I do want to put in a reality check here. 30 minutes is not very long to build anything. So this is a very on rails, welcome to subscriptions kind of thing, and then you guys can explore from there and continue on. Obviously lunch is after this, so feel free to bug me during lunch. I'm still here through tomorrow. I'm still on Zulip. I still have email. Contact me however. I'm happy to help. One of the interesting challenges is that most people want to use the REST endpoints, REST hooks, but in order to do anything useful, you need a server that can reach that REST hook. So in the samples that we're going to go through here, there's two methods. One is the sample server I have running. In the UI, it'll actually proxy the notifications to your local server. Or there's also an NPM package called local tunnel, which exposes a port to the internet, and then we use that. So there's both options for depending on how comfortable you are with one or the other, or you can actually run a lot of these things. I'm not going to go through it during this Let's Build because there's not enough time, but you can pull all of the projects down and run them on your computer so that you can have everything local. And that's what I do. So the first thing is the reference implementation. I brought it up briefly in the last presentation. It's broken up into three parts. There's a server proxy that just proxies calls to the happy public server and intercepts things like topic and subscription so that they work, and then looks through, and right now it only supports encounters because that's all we've needed to build out for testing as far as actually triggering notifications. There's this client host project, and that's what actually creates endpoints and forwards these things to the UI. Same problem. Our UI is a client in a web browser. A web browser is not a web server, so we needed some way of getting something posted to a web server into the client. And so internally, it's just using WebSockets and passing those along. Again, the code's all on GitHub, so feel free to look and peruse. The last piece is the actual client UI, and it's just a TypeScript React application, and we'll go through all that, but it's on GitHub as well. Also, since I forgot to mention that in the first one, any questions, feel free to jump in, and if not, once we're through all this part, I'll just be available and walking around. Some of the main things, you're going to need to decide on R4 or R5. If you're using R4, there's the support in the server for the basic wrapped versions that, again, we talked about in the last session. If you weren't at the last session, I would suggest going through the deck quickly just to see, or asking me after I turn the mic off. Picking out your tools. This can be challenging. There aren't a lot of built tools for R5 already. So the samples here, there's a few things. One is like the JavaScript examples are just JavaScript. So there's no classes or anything else like that. If you look at the C# examples or the actual UI that's built in TypeScript, I actually ended up building a POCO generator for different languages so that we can have useful type information while you're doing that. That project is also on GitHub. Right now it does C# and TypeScript, and it only works with JSON because, again, JSON's better than XML. So we'll walk through essentially all of this script for what I'm going to attempt to build through today is here on subscriptions.argo.run. You click on the DevDays tab, and again, these are the absolute simplest things we could come up with. So if I can find where that tab ended up, and I will zoom back in a little bit so you can hopefully see what's going on. There you go. When you come into the server, or when you come into the page, it looks something like this. I have it in dark UI instead of light UI. There's just a switch for that if you have a preference one way or the other. So you can see it's just, there you go. The backport to R4, that's one of the things I was talking about, that switch. All of the samples and everything will use BASIC. I don't know if I finished implementing all that in the actual DevDays walkthrough because they are so simple. So I think I just stuck to the R5 versions. But that works in all the rest of them. So I would recommend leaving it off to start and then you can turn it on to play more later. Again, for people who didn't see, there's a bunch of links here, all the project code links, build.fhir.org, Confluence site from Connectathons, and we keep updating that as we go. So the actual DevDays tab is, again, the most basic thing we could figure out. So essentially here you just pick your language. So we have a C# that uses the UI to proxy calls, a JavaScript, which is a node server that does the proxying, and a JavaScript node server that uses tunnel. And the package is local tunnel. Once you pick that, it literally just walks you through and says, here's the command to clone the GitHub repo. You can copy it to the clipboard right there. I'm going to pretend I've done all these steps as I go through. You have to move into the cloned repo. Let me make sure I pick the proxy one. In this case, then it will create, it'll ask you to create the REST endpoint. And it explains here that all it does is forward FHIR JSON messages to localhost 32.019/notification. So in this case, once you create it, it will tell you which file you need to edit and which line number in order to give that endpoint into your subscription. So again, the subscription needs to send to the endpoint. There's no magic way to bridge from here to there. So it'll just tell you to start it and go through and it'll create a patient for you. It will create the subscription for you. It will post an encounter and show you all of the notifications. So if you get through all that, and especially as you go home and play or the rest of the week, there are all of these other things. The patient rest and group rest are the Connectathon scenarios, and those are all documented there. And then the playground is exactly that. It's just a playground where you can create endpoints, play with different channel types of WebSockets and email and different things like that. And this is all here so that you can do groups and randomize and et cetera, et cetera. So if there are any major questions, I can take those now. And if not, I will let you guys actually build and walk around. And if you have questions, let me know. All right. Perfect. Enjoy, and again, I'm here.